Okay, review time. What do we got? Okay, the Kity Hawk 1/48 scale F101 Voodoo. Now, we've been after a decent Voodoo in the hobby world now for a long time. Only option you have is the monogram one, which is raised panel lines, which, don't get me wrong, has one of the finest cockpit details I've seen on a model in a long time. It's beautifully done, especially when you think how old that kit is. It's a very old kit, but we wanted something, a nice up-to-date modern tooling and things like that. Kity Hawk, okay, doesn't have the best rap sheet in the world, let's face it. We've seen some of their kits and they've been truly horrible, so it'll be interesting to see what we've got in here. So, first thing that jumps out of you is the way that obviously detail and scale have thrown their weight behind this one a little bit and provided all the sort of references and things like that. And if anybody's then going to make it right, it should be them, because they do know their stuff. You can find them on the internet. As I say, I have used their books. To be honest, I used one of their books to do the Intruder, which gave me that great insight about putting the engine on the weapons pylon as if it's in maintenance. I found all the reference shots from them from Detailing Scale, so make sure you go and check them out. They're on Facebook, they're everywhere, so go for your life. So, usual thing, lovely box art. Very nice picture, the Voodoo. Great thing about the Voodoo was it's all that beautiful bare metal work that was very sort of renaissance of the sort of 60s and 70s of the way of doing it. It says it comes with some photo etch. So looking around on the box, we've got another beautiful scheme there, which is obviously the one off the front, and we've got on the tail couple of other ones that come in, so as you can see, more fantastic schemes, and back round to the front. So our kit number for this one, before we sort of scoot off somewhere, is, he says, hurriedly trying to find it, is KH80115. Not the strongest box in the world, but perfectly adequate. Okay, first thing that jumps out at you, and I've got to be honest with this one, I have looked at this before. We had a Geek Meet. This is one of our members' models, who's allowing me to review it. And as I said, at the time it looked a bit shocking, and it still doesn't fail me now. The colour of this plastic, it just looks like it's something from the 70s. Separate bagged to a point, they do tend to be all in. So what we'll do is, well, first of all, we're going to go through the old instructions. So if we just look at these first, because these are quite lovely. Okay, first up we have the instructions. Beautiful colour booklet with a paper insert, which is always a bit funny, but there we go. So, sprue call out. We got to imagine they're going to do a few different versions of this, as we've seen with other Kity Hawk. They've brought out other versions of the one there's doing. So certainly I imagine there's going to be a two-seater coming along in the near future as well. So, usual thing, you got your call outs. As I said, we know we've got some photo etch, we've got some lovely decals I've had a glimpse of already, and as you can see from these markings, you get absolutely beautiful markings to do them in. Okay, so you can see them there, and you can see these here. So you have got some lovely options with some of the best markings I've seen on an aircraft in a very, very long time. So straight into it. Okay, usual thing, we've got the cockpit, the seats, and everything going in. We've got photo etch, which is quite nice, or decals, or both, I suppose you could do, to put them down as well. So you've got plenty of options there. Looks like we've got a nice wheel well, which is very reminiscent of the old days where we used to glue them to the bottom of things, F-14 Tomcats and that. Gear going together, but obviously you probably do that last. Front cockpit, as we know, we've got other versions of this coming down the line, so it's to be expected. It's going to be in lots of bits, this, to do all the different versions. We've got the refueling probe, which you can put in, again, another lovely touch as well to put that on the front. Some nice detail around the gear and everything else. Cockpit going in now, again, it's photo etch and or decal as well. You can put that in there. And then you've got options as well for doing various things, but as I said, luckily it looks like you can do them all afterwards and things. As I say, the refueling probe, I don't know if you'd have it up, it doesn't improve the looks of the aircraft. Single seat version, so obviously just got the front mid cockpit going through there, displayed open or closed, personal choice. The gun vents, if you like, they go on separate as well. A little bit funny for reasons for doing that. We'll look at this in a moment to see how this goes in, obviously the intakes, to see how sort of seamless they'll be and the ways those are going to go in. Again, in the early jet era, they tended to have veins and things going across, so seamless intakes aren't as important as you might find on something modern like an F-16 where you can just see it straight away. Okay, back end of the fuselage going in, we've got this sort of clamshell effect like the Phantoms have. Some nice detail work looks like around the actual engines themselves. Okay, so we've got those going on, then your gear, then your wings. Quite nice, so we've actually got positionable control surfaces on these ones, so that's quite nice. Okay, that's all going in, and then obviously you've got your flaps, again, positionable up or down. Your gear going in. Some vent panels going in there if you wanted to put them in either way. The tail then sits on top of the clamshell, very sort of Phantom-esque of the way of doing it. Okay, and then obviously the control surfaces all going in there, which don't look like they're positionable to a point because they've got slats instead of going in. Front fuselage going in quite late, which means it'll be a pain to do all your filler work and everything else around without destroying it if it's not a good fit. But as I said, this is that very modular way of doing it. So you've got a separate tail, really, separate midsection, separate front, and then a complete nose on it as well. So, you know, depending how it goes. One thing I love about the Voodoo is the way that the fuel tanks both sit underneath. So that's a very nice touch. And we've already looked at those as well. So you also get, which I won't get out of the bag, but a beautiful decal sheet, as you can see. We've also got another one down here for the walkways. It looks like, okay, they're crude, but again, how much are you really going to see down in there? Instrument panel looks okay, side panels look very generic, if you ask me, but certainly I don't think anything out of the way. Photo etch part seems to be the business, so we've got some engine work down in there, and as I said, don't know why you'd have a photo etch and a clear like that, but at least they mirror, so you could put one on top of the other to give you that little bit of texture to them. But you're not going to get much texture from photo etch. It's, I don't know, can't see really the point of that one. Okay, the stuff. Now, this particular kit was a pre-release kit that went to one of our members who's a reviewer for magazines and things like that. He's lent it to me. So we can't say that these faults are going to be with everybody's kit, but I do know they are for sale now. They're in the UK, so if you have got a problem with the kit, let me know and I'll tell the world, because obviously there may be a problem with this, because we have got a few little problems. Now, the first one straight off the bat. The forward front end section, you may notice down here we've got it looks like a mold burn rather than anything else. The other thing as well, this thing is covered in ejector released film, which is like a silicone spray they spray into the mold. But this actually looks like it's been burnt with something and has got a melt mark just down here in the front. Now, okay, I'm being picky because put the front end, tiny bit of filler, it's no bigger job than any other on, you know, most kits. It's just a bit annoying when you find it on your part. But also, has it bent the actual shape of it? It doesn't look like it has, but certainly we don't have it on this side and we have it here, so it's not supposed to be there. Cockpit is non-existent of any detail, but as I said, we've got photo etch and also you've got your decals to put down there, but it's a little bit thing off. The clamshell at the rear is a little bit soft. I'd like it to be slightly sharper detail with these veins where they overlap each other down there. But generally, as you said, it's just, it has that Matchbox 1970s feel to it. I know it sounds horrible, but that's how it actually feels. Okay, so moving on. Things we can say about it: beautiful recessed panel lining, extremely fine and sharp. Okay, the only thing is, again, it's textured. The mold hasn't been polished. Okay, again, it's not a problem unless you're doing a metal finish, which we are. So really, that means you've got to heavily gloss this before you can come near it with your metallizer paints, or you're going to have to polish the plastic. So be warned. Okay, so just looking around at the rest of the parts, see, we've got quite nice detail. It's just not as, I don't know, not as crisp as I'd like to have seen it. Okay, and certainly they've never polished the mold on the other side, because you've actually got the tooling marking from the drill bits coming out. We've got plenty of flash over absolutely everything down the back here. We've got the same thing again where we've got these half ejector pin marks sticking up. Some of the parts have taken quite a brutal whack. You can see some whiting down on here. So it's just the way obviously they're being laid out in the sprues, so some of them may need bending back. It's just that the way they've been pinged out the mold, we've got these white marks everywhere where they've actually stressed to get them actually out of the mold. That one's okay. Okay, down in here we have You've got the engine detail, which we had high hopes for. Unfortunately, it's a little bit soft for my liking. You have got riveting detail in there, but it is so fine I don't think you're actually going to see it. Okay, the wheels, again, where it's been stamped, you've got stress marks right in the middle of them all. Okay, hubs are obviously a separate fit because they're on a separate part. Okay, and the detail inside the engines, okay, is adequate, and we don't have any ejector pin marks at all for these intake areas, vents. That's pretty nice, that's very good. This detail, we've got these inlets for air vents going into the system like this. It's all very well, but they are so shallow and non-existent, I can't see the point of them being a separate part. You might as well just left them on the fuselage. You've had them deep with some detail, would have been lovely, but unfortunately not with that one. Interior panel combing is very crude. Okay. Unfortunately, all the doors have got ejector pin marks in them as well, so you're going to have to clean them up, which is a bit of a pain. Okay, let's move on. Again, you know, you can see this. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't affect anything. It's just, you know, there's the ejector pin to get it out. All of these models feel like they're dripping in release film. So why it took that much pressure to get it out is beyond me. And it's not just one, it's on both. Okay, so as you can see. But again, you've got quite nasty where somebody's tried to get rid of them, the ejector pin marks, but they are very raised, so you're going to have to get rid of those. And again, we've got them here, okay, and back down here where you can see we've got these raised ejector pins which need to come out before you can touch it. But we do have some very nice detail. I'm trying to find the positives here, but we have got some very nice detail actually in these areas, which obviously quite nice. And we've got internal detail for the actual wheel wells themselves. And again, if you can see it, I don't know how well the camera will pick it up, but certainly you've got beautiful riveting detail of 1,000,000 rivets on these tail planes, which are absolutely fantastically done because they are all identical. And they all look to be absolutely the same depth and everything else, so no problem. But the entire the wing is covered in it as well, so I think if you were to polish it, as long as you didn't fill all this detail up, you would have a fantastic looking model. Now, okay, here's our little nose cone, no problem with that at all. Okay, so he's okay, we just keep that separate. But we do have, again, we're looking here and here, the ejector pins, and when I hold this up to the light, I don't know how well you guys will see it, but I can see straight through that. That is very, very clear. It's just like daylight looking through daylight. So these ejector pin marks are so close to going right the way through that I feel, and I could be wrong, but again, let me know if you have, they could have gone through. I can imagine it as like some of them, they've actually gone through. So extremely close on that one. And then I just put the nose in there so we just know it's out of that bag. Okay, right, into the bigger bits. Okay, so we know it's very modular, so it's going to be a right pain to get these together, but we have got some nice, if it fits, some nice details around here, which would be great because it will enable it to lock on positively. Again, we've got white stress marks where it looks like it had a hard time getting out of the mould around there. We've got some little sink marks around on this one as well, and when we talk about sink marks, massive sink marks. Now, sink marks, this sounds horrible because it sounds like I'm pulling this kit apart. I'm really not, because I was very excited about this kit and I would have gone out and bought one in a heartbeat. But it looks like a lot of schoolboy errors. It looks like the ejector pins are pushing too hard to get this thing out of the mould, and one of those reasons could be is that it's still too hot. I am by no means whatsoever an engineering expert on injection moulding and releasing of them and everything else, but what I do know is you do get sink marks like these guys that you can probably see here. Happens when they come out of the mould and it's still hot, okay, and then what happens is as it cools down, it falls in, because what it is, it's actually melting into the gaps on the other side, and that's why you get this sort of falling down. So sometimes if you look at it, you get ejector pin marks. It's not those, it's locating tabs, and they sink into them. It's where they're hollow on the inside and it's allowing it to sag, and it's purely because they're coming out of the press so fast, the mould, that they're still hot, and it may be that they're sticking, they're not having time to cool, and that's why they're having trouble coming out of the mould. So it may be just a case of, guys, slow it down, let it out, okay? But as you said, it's a pain. It's not a problem to fill that and do it. It's just a pain that you have to do it, especially when you are paying a lot of money for a kit like this. But anyway, we'll move on. Okay, so Very nice underside detail. Again, stress marks on it, but I'm going to give up just talking about them now. Okay. Nice detail all the way round. Riveting detail is all very nice on all these areas, and as you can see, pretty good. We've got the engine detail, as you can see here, and on the other side, although, you know, I hate to say it, we've got ejector pins, release agent in all of these, and there's ejector pin dumps in them all. Alright, so that's a bit of a pain. Okay, and then we've got here, I presume this is the area to the rear. We've got those all very nicely done. I hate it when the kits don't perform as you think, because it makes you so disappointed. Okay, so the big important things. I hope there wasn't supposed to be a couple of things on these tabs. If no, they've gone. Okay, right. Ooh. Okay, we've got to look at it. Horrible, horrible. We got ejector pin marks in those intakes, which I know, you know, you don't see them now, but unfortunately you've got them. We've got huge ejector pins down here as well. If you want to keep going on about it, we've got big ejector pin marks in these missiles, and everything else down in there, which is a bit of a problem. There's none on the bombs, there's none on the fuel tanks, but they're all recessed detail on the tanks and everything else. Looking down at the smaller parts, they all seem to be very nicely crisply moulded. See, I can find something good to say about it. Okay, and everything else, as you can see, apart from I've got the odd ejector pin thing. Look, I'm wondering if, look, I was only joking when I said I hope there's nothing supposed to be there. That's why you check your bags, guys, to make sure. But I've got these two bits here, which I know now, because, you know, power of observation, should go on these. Now, I don't know if they're anything important, but they certainly are now. Seeing this isn't my kit, what I'm going to do is we are just going to pop them 1 and 2. We're going to fold. Just because I've done this a million times myself, it's nothing more annoying. And what I'm going to do, because it's not my kit, is just going to stick it to here. Okay, so what you do, you pop your parts in like this. You've got them on here, you can see through the tape what it is, and obviously I've put them next to the tanks, so hopefully John will know those go on there if he needs them. But that's the thing, never get your bag, open it up, screw it up, bung it in the bin, because the amount of times I've been through the rubbish on bin night looking for a part, and it's always been in there, because what happens is they fall off, they go to the corners of the bags, you don't know about them, and then, you know, trust me, 3 months down the line when you're building it, and you've got to that tiny little area you need, nothing worse. So there we go. Yeah, okay, glass work. Come on, this has got to be good. We can't have anything wrong with the glass work. It should be perfect. Close. Okay, it's not perfect. It's really, really annoying now, because I had such high hopes for this kit. What we've actually got is it looks like a frosting around all the edges of the thing. So what that actually means is it's horrible to look through. Not only does it look like it's got frost, you know, I don't know how well the cameras are going to pick this up. I'll try and bring them both in as tight as I can. Okay, but I'm really not sure, because I've never tried anything this close, but you may be able to see it's like a frosty coat under here. If I put something under it which will show some colour. I'm hoping you see it's all fuzzy down the bottom, and when you look at it you can actually see a sort of, it's not cracked or anything, it's just obviously the way it's been moulded. I think it's come out of the mould too quick. Generally the front one, as you can see, we've got no problem with that at all, that is crystal clear, and the rear one, as you can see, alright, there's a bit of wobble, alright, but nothing massively over the top, and it's good all the way around. It's just this front one is a bit horrible. And as you can see, I don't know how well you can actually see this middle glass window here, if I do it from the underside, it's just really, really fuzzy. So you're going to have to polish that out, but this here is never going to polish out. But it's only down this edge. Again, it's not a problem, it's just really, really annoying when you spend 60 quid on a kit and then you find out that it's not what you was hoping for. And down the bottom, look, we can come up with something positive. Detailing scale, there we go. As I said, love their books. Intruder, you would have seen us did that. We also used it for the Corsair build as well back in the day, so that was quite a long time ago. But as I said, have a look out for these guys because they really do know what they're doing. And for modelers' references, they are absolutely fantastic. Go out and buy one. Oh, okay. A lot of what I've said has been my personal disappointment, shall we say, purely because I had such high hopes for this. Kity Hawk are a relatively new company, okay, which I know is no excuse when you're charging people £60–70 for a kit. But they're a new company and they are getting better, and everybody had to start somewhere. You know, when you look at Kinetic's early stuff, that was horrible as well. So, you know, they're a relatively new company into the market. They're tackling very, very technical subjects, like a Voodoo especially, but some of their other builds certainly, you know, there has been, you know, various issues with them, shall we say, especially fit issues, and some of their technical call-outs and things like that seem to be a little bit misplaced from my point of view. I haven't built any of their kits purely because I've heard all the horror stories with them, so I tend to think not. Okay, and you know, as we sit here now, I've got a thing going on as a poll on the forum and everything, and we're talking about what kits you'd like me to see. And as you've known, you've seen my stash, everyone. I do have their kits here, and I have paid my own money for them. It's not like I'm giving these kits for nothing. And I have got the F-35s there, I have got the Jaguars and everything else, because I thought, brilliant, fantastic. Then I hear all the horror stories for them, and I think, right. And normally I am not put off at all by horror stories, because I've heard horror stories on kits I've never had a problem with. Wingnut Wings triplane I heard it didn't go together. I never had a problem, it went together, no problem at all. I've had other people and they've said, oh, that doesn't fit. I've had no fit issues with a particular kit at all, first nor last with it. And they've been a dream build, no problem at all. Other people have been thought, they've bunged them in the bin and chucked them all away. This kit will go together, but you've got to make a few repairs to it, okay? And you're gonna have to spend a little bit of time cleaning up, getting rid of ejector pin marks, filling in where mismolds and things like that. And it's just that thing, it annoys me that companies will quite happily take your money when technically the product isn't fit. But, and this is my little get out clause for bashing this kit, this is technically a pre-run kit. It may be just mine is like it, okay? As I said, it's not mine, it's John's. John was sent it before it was released. So it is obviously one of the early kits that came out, rather than perhaps what you guys have got at home now. So before anyone makes a judgment on this, I think we need to get a little bit of feedback from you guys. So have a look at your Voodoo kits for you guys that have gotten them. Let me know if they're okay. If they're not the same, then I'll come back and we'll really give them hell over it. So there we go, that is the Voodoo. Very disappointed, if we're honest, but it is still a Voodoo, and it has got recessed panel lines, and it probably goes together. No, it probably doesn't actually go together as easy as the monogram one. So you might want to spend your time probably rescribing the monogram one, and it'll probably still be a quicker build. Technically, if this was my kit, I would now take it outside and we could blow it up, but it's not. Damn.